Hello, geography students, and welcome to step 5. You are almost done, so congratulations. Today we're going to work on step 5, which is all about finding a flight. This can be especially tricky right now due to the nature of travel and vacationing with coronavirus and the pandemic. So there may be some hiccups you run into. The main thing that you want to make sure you do is that you've at least found a flight and you can answer most of the information that's asked of you here. If you're running into significant issues, please go ahead and reach out to your teacher through email or Remind or however you reach out to your teacher normally, and they can probably step in and help you out a little bit. But today, we are going to hope that the majority of our countries were able to find good, safe travel into. So you will notice that this section looks a little shorter than some of the rest, and hopefully it won't take you as long because you're not necessarily taking notes in the same way. You're just going to be answering questions once you find a good flight. So here are some links. If you want to use any of these websites for traveling, that's totally fine. I am personally going to use Kayak because that's the website that I think has the easiest interface. I think it's pretty customer friendly and all that kind of stuff. So I will be using Kayak. So this is where we're at. When you get to this website or to whatever website you're using to find your flights, you are obviously going to put from, and then you can go ahead and start in San Diego. That's where we're all starting from. Okay, so you will put from San Diego. You will also put to. So this part can get a little tricky. Let's pretend that I am going to Ireland, okay? And I will see I can either land in Cork, I can land in Knock, or I can land in Dublin. You may want to take some time and research these. Some cities are smaller, meaning that it will cost more to fly into them. So it might be more cost effective for you to fly into some major cities. I would recommend that so we know that Dublin, since it's the capital of Ireland, is probably going to be a little bit cheaper, and I know that just from looking in the past, but you can always play around with flying into different places in order to find yourself the best deal possible. So that's always going to be something we do. From here, we are going to pick our dates. If you look back to step 3, which you already should have done, you looked at the weather and decided which few weeks or months would be the best to travel to your location. So it might be summer. Summer might have the best weather. If you're going somewhere on the other side of the world, though, summer is winter over there, right? So you might be going more like in winter or spring or something like that. So let's say that I found, according to weather, according to the physical geography that I've already looked up in step 3, that maybe May is going to be the best time to go to Ireland. It's when it has the best weather, all of that sort of stuff. So I would go forward into May. And then remember, we're doing a trip for 7 to 9 days. Chances are your place is going to be pretty far away because most countries are. So you probably don't want to do the whole 9 days, right? Just as travel. You want to make sure that you're leaving yourself some space because a lot of these flights may be upwards of 10 to 15 hours long, depending on which country you're going. So I would recommend that you set your parameters the full 9 days, just so then you make sure that you're able to fit it into that time. Some websites, depending on what you use, will also have these buttons down here, and they show you, oh, the green's going to be the cheapest. So probably the most cost effective for me to go this week, maybe, right? It also depends on which day you want to leave. Sometimes it's cheaper if you leave on a Monday and you get back on a Sunday or something like that than it is to travel during the weekends. So you can obviously play around with this a little bit to try to find yourself the best deal. But let's say that I'm going to go the 3rd, and then I'll go, this will be my 2nd day, my 3rd day, my 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and then 9th, okay? And it's 7 to 9 days. Maybe I don't want to go the full 9 days to make it cheaper. Maybe I'll try to come back on that Monday, okay? So there we have it. We're going for that time span. One other thing you need to make sure you do is make sure it's round trip. You always save money on round trip. And then add a second adult because you are going with 2 people, okay? I would recommend you keep it at economy. That's going to be the best way to find a deal. We'll hit our search button. Usually it'll take a second. It'll come up with some options dependent on price, depending on how fast you want to be, depending on layovers and things like that. So we'll let it load for just a minute. We can see that new deals are popping up, all of that kind of stuff. Looks like right now we've got some pretty good pricing going on. And we can see, right? So it categorizes things by best. It also shows us, okay, here's the cheapest, but notice your cheapest is going to take you about double the time to get there, over a day, right? Which is probably not going to be the best plan because then you eat into a whole day of activities you could be doing in your country. You can see that the quickest is actually this 12-hour and 35-minute mark, right? So I would definitely keep it on best. That's usually what the airports are going to tell you is the best way to go about it, and they're usually correct, right? So realistically, you can pick any of these that you want to keep it in our best range. So you could say, I would like to leave in the afternoon and get there in the morning. That's fine, right? I would like to leave. It looks like most of these are leaving in the afternoon, getting there in the mornings. You can always play around with what time you leave, what time you get back. You can play around with different airlines. But for our purposes, really, folks, I would just pick whatever the best one is. Usually they'll tell you correctly, and they're usually pretty honest about it. So let's say that, yes, I've looked over my options. I do think this one is the best here. I am going to see all of this information that I need now, okay? Just by clicking on it and kind of expanding that window. So let's see what I need to do. I need to say, what city will I fly into? And then I will type the answers down here, okay? One way to do this is you can literally copy and paste this, and you can put it into this box, and then you can answer directly here, or you can just type the answers as bullet points, as numbers, however you want to go about doing it. Just make sure that you are answering all these questions. So what city will I fly into? In my example, we talked about it. It's Dublin, Ireland. The name of the airline and the flight number. So we can see that the name of the airline is Lufthansa, and it is operated by United Airlines. So we will just go ahead and pick that. For our flight numbers, so we're saying, for example, you might have Delta number 170 or something like that. For our flight numbers, we will check around to see if we can see it. We see down here in a little bit of smaller print, we have Lufthansa 9149, and then we have 7771 on the way back. Okay, so those are going to be two flight numbers on the way there because it looks like we have to change planes. On the way back, we've got 981 and we've got 466. Okay, so make sure you are doing both the departure and the return. After that, we are looking for departure time and date from San Diego. So we're going to go back to departure. We're leaving on May 3rd. Okay, we are leaving at 2:13 p.m. Our next question is going to ask what's the arrival time and date. So we're going to go, okay, when do we land? It looks like we will land on May 4th, right? And the reason for that is because our flight takes us overnight and there's time zone changes. So we always know that there is going to be an extra day added on when you see this little +1 right here. That's probably going to happen to a lot of us because of time zone changes and the amount of time it takes to get places. So we will see we land on May 4th, and it looks like we land at 10:45 a.m. Okay, so that would be the answer to that one. For the number of hours, we can see that our number of hours was 12 hours and 32 minutes, okay? That's just right there for us, that total, pretty simple. And then we're going to look, okay, what is all of the travel info from the country we went to back to San Diego again? Okay, so now we're basically going to do the same exact stuff we did till right here. We already looked at those numbers. Remember, it was 981 and 466. We can see that those are the airline numbers. For our date and time, we'll do the same exact thing. So we will leave on the 10th. And we will get back on the 11th, okay? It is going to be it's going to have a layover. It is going to add a day to our travel time. We can see that the number of hours this time is going to be 27 hours and 10 minutes, which is a lot. We might try to go back at this point because 27 hours is a long time to be on a flight. We might now try to go back and see, hey, can I find a better trip that does not have a 27-hour flight home? And then we might want to go here, right? Now we see, oh, okay, this is 12 hours there, 12 hours and 40 minutes back. Much better. So we might want to change some of our info, right? Always good to look at both those things before we start, so then we know. But essentially, folks, that's going to be how we do it. As far as the total cost, you have to get to the total cost by clicking view deal, right? Down here it tells us to, so it says 1,328 is going to be the total cost here, right, for the round trip. We can also click view deal for some more information about the breakdown of the fees and maybe the taxes and all of that kind of stuff. The very important thing here, folks, is that we are not actually putting in a credit card. We are not asking you to pay for this trip yourself or anything like that. We just need to see the total. Then we back out of this page entirely. We are not buying this, okay? So again, that is all you do here. I know it's a little bit confusing, but if you just follow along what I did, it should be pretty simple. So good luck, everyone. Make sure you get step 5 done so that by Wednesday, we are all set to start working on your budget. Have a good night and good luck finding your flights, friends.